Well, welcome everyone to today's episode of TMI Advice You Didn't Want. Today we're talking about coffee enemas. You may or may not have heard of one. You may go, what the hell is that? But we are going to enlighten you and talk about how come we love them so much. So in case we haven't met, my name is Karin Angelly and I'm here with my co-host.
Hi, my name is Ashley, and if you've heard us talk before, you've probably heard us say it. Um, a lot of people don't know what they are and haven't heard of the term. Even for me, like when I first heard the term enema, I didn't even know what that meant.
Mm.
So you may not know what that means either. So we're gonna really lay it all out for you instead of
Mm-hmm.
just this like random thing that people are like, oh, what did they say? What is that? I don't know what that is. Or
See,
if you fully know, you might be like, oh my gosh, this is TMI.
yeah, lots and lots of TMIs coming at you today. I mean, for me, because I'm in healthcare, you actually are the person that got me into coffee enemas. But because I'm in healthcare, whenever you first told me about it, I was like, excuse me, you do what with that now? So you want to explain what an enema is? Go for it.
So for me, like a little backstory, enema wasn't my coffee enemas weren't my first enema I ever tried. So I kind of like had a little bit of a gateway. I think it would have been a little bit harder to go straight for the coffee had I not had my little gateway drug. So I don't know if anyone's heard of like ozone, but ozone is a
Mm.
really amazing thing that's really great for your body. And my doctor has a way of putting it like directly into your vein, which is very unheard of. Most states and provinces won't allow you to do that, but it's actually the most effective way to get the ozone into your system. And it
Mm.
has so many benefits and it makes you feel amazing. I am terrified of needles. So I did it a couple times. I'm like, okay, this is awesome, but I really don't like needles. Is there another way? He's like, yeah, you can put it in your bum. I was like, what?
Excuse me?
I went
I have
to
to
put
do what?
air in my bum. Like, you're gonna put air in my bum. I'm gonna put air in my bum. Like, what? You're not putting anything in my bum. Like, no one needs to be down there. Like, what? And he's like, yeah, I have this little air bag and it has like this tiny applicator, like smaller than the end of a pencil. And you just put a little bit of like coconut oil or olive oil on the tip and put it in your bum about a half an inch, and then you put air into your bum. And I was like, okay, like that sounds really strange, but it was better than a needle. And so I started doing it and it made me feel amazing. And so then I don't know at what point coffee enemas were introduced to me by him as well in my health journey. But eventually they were something that he brought up as something that was really great for your health and your clarity, your mental state, like so many things, like the list goes on and on. And so I was like, okay, sure. I've already been doing this air enema and there's no negative effects. I only feel amazing. And this one's supposed to be roughly similar, just with slightly different benefits. So that is what kind of got me started. And that is my explanation of an enema. So it's putting something in your bum.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah. I
um,
mean, in the medical world, a lot of times we do enemas for people that are very constipated, very,
yeah.
very, very constipated. But with a coffee enema, you're not doing it because you're constipated. You're doing it as a way to detox your body. It's a very old practice too. A lot of times when people hear this, they think, "Oh, that's scary. That's new kind of like scary concept." And it's like, no, actually, people have been doing this for thousands of years, really. Like it goes back to, what is it, Egyptian times, maybe even further than that, that this was a practice that people did because it would provide, like you said, that clarity, that detox. For me, what I notice is my body just feels better, so it's a way to kind of tune up your body. So on this podcast we talk about a lot of spiritual stuff, and I feel like while a coffee enema isn't necessarily a spiritual topic, at the same time it can be, because it's all about getting your body working optimally.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm definitely of the mindset that we don't need anything. But when we do add things like coffee enemas, or we eat right, or we take care of our body by exercising, or all those things that we can do for our body, it can help our body actually work more optimally, which can, in effect, help us as far as our spiritual journey as well, because our body is a temple that can help us reach certain levels inside your spiritual walk as well. So for me, that's like, why would I stop when it's helping my body clear out things that I don't necessarily need, you know? So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, a large part to me of like our spiritual well-being, like our high vibrations, really coincides with regulating. Like
Mm,
our ability to raise our vibration is often a very similar muscle to regulating. Um,
yes.
and it is like simply to me, in my opinion, at this time, fact that the better we consume healthy foods, the better that we surround ourselves with calm and all of those kind of things, the more better we are going to be at regulating and achieving a higher vibrational frequency.
Absolutely. Yep.
And so coffee enemas, like you said, were the furthest back I've ever heard of them historically when I've researched about them is from Egyptian times. And the Egyptians were obsessed with immortality and thriving and having a godlike experience.
Hmm.
And so they wanted to overindulge in all the blissful, wonderful things. And food specifically often is something that's going to make us not feel godlike. Like if you're
Mm,
overindulging in sugars and cheeses and alcohol, you're not going to feel godlike the next day. Maybe in
mm,
that moment, but not the next day. And same with like if you're partying or sex or whatever, like if you're doing so much of that kind of stuff, like your body needs time to recover from all of that. And I don't know what was typical Egyptian practices, but so they used coffee enemas as a way to participate in all those overindulgences, whatever they may have been at that time. And coffee enemas were their way to recover and be able to keep that lifestyle up without feeling hungover, if you will.
hmm.
And I find that coffee enemas do that for me in my life, whether it is overindulgence of like, for me, it's dairy. I love cheese. And if I eat too much like pastas and cheeses and pizzas and whatever, I can feel like a food hangover. More than I'll ever feel alcohol hangover, I'll feel a food hangover. And a coffee enema will just perk you right back up so fast.
Hmm.
But also there's feeling lethargic, feeling tired, feeling mental fog, all that kind of stuff. A coffee enema will clear that. One of our mutual friends did coffee enemas as a way to release stress. She saw it as like a physical release of all of her negative emotions and all of
Hmm.
that kind of stuff. And I definitely think that's very true as well, that there is that physical release. And even when you think about like constipation and like your insides be twisted, and looking back at like Louise Hay's book, You Can Heal Your Life, and how that's connected. Usually people that are constipated can't let go of things.
Hmm.
It's usually a toxic thing or a negative thing that they can't let go of. Um, so a coffee enema is also helping you release in that physical way, but also in that spiritual, emotional way as well. Um,
Absolutely.
but yeah, you do feel godlike. Like I have been doing coffee enemas nearly every day for months now. And as soon as I do one, it's like, oh yeah, I feel like 10 times better. People also do them to heal from illnesses. So I'm sick
Hmm.
right now. And that's a huge thing too, is like recovering from a cold because you're detoxing your
Hmm.
body.
Yep.
I've heard people have their kids do them. There's one lady I know that had her, I think her 6-year-old daughter did one for her cold.
Hmm.
Um, and um roughly that age, and then also periods. So the reason I started doing coffee enemas personally every day, because I've done them inconsistently, sometimes very frequently, sometimes very inconsistently. It's probably been close to a decade now that I've been doing them, and I've really converted a lot of people. And I've also known by a lot of people for like, they're like, oh my gosh, like, and they'll tease me about it, like if you ever
Yeah.
play never have I ever game. I have like a select group of people that always say coffee enemas because none of them have ever been willing to try.
Mm.
It always knocks me out, and I'm the only one in that group that still does them. But a lot of people like yourself have been willing to try because you see how helpful and beneficial it is, and so why not? Why not try?
Well, and I'm just a curious soul. So I'm like, oh, you say that's a really good detox. Like for me, when you said it was a great detox and it was probably the best detox for your body, I was on board 100% because I'm always looking for really good detoxes for my body. I had actually, before we started doing, or me and my husband actually started doing coffee enemas together, probably because of you. I started first and then he was like, oh yeah, no, I want to try it too. But before I started doing coffee enemas, I was doing a lot of charcoal because it's a really, that is also a really good detox for your body, for your intestines. And what I discovered from the charcoal is the charcoal actually helped to make me a little bit constipated, because that's one of the things that it can do. And so once I started doing the coffee enemas, I was doing the charcoal with the coffee enemas, and I was like, oh, this is interesting. This is helping my body to actually release these things too. And I also figured out time frames of when to take it best. So for me, I can't take it in the morning. I can take it at night though. And I'm fine if I take it at night, but in the morning, it's just completely messes up my whole system.
Oh,
So, but that's one of the things too, like when you're doing any kind of detox, really playing with it a little bit and seeing what works for you, because that's one of the things too. People will try a coffee enema and go, oh, it just made me feel like crap.
yeah.
One of the reasons you probably feel like crap if you ever do a coffee enema, is because your body is releasing a lot of things that it was holding on to. And so now it's going, oh my God, like, and it's just like this big release. If you've ever had a really big detox, a lot of times people get very sick
Mhm.
after detoxes because your body's just releasing a lot of things that it's been holding on to in the cells, in your gut, in your system for a long time. And so it can sometimes take a little while to actually get your system comfortable with that kind of release, comfortable with that kind of detox happening.
Yeah.
So if you've never tried one before and then you do try it and you're like, I didn't feel awesome afterwards, it's probably because you went through this massive detox and your body was just completely shocked by it. So getting into a pattern with it will help you. Now, for myself, I didn't notice any really big detox symptoms because I'd already been doing a lot of things that help my body with detox. One thing that I still do and love is I take apple cider vinegar every day. That's another really good detox for your gut as well. It helps with detox. It helps with probiotics, prebiotics, the whole deal. Like it's a really good thing for your gut also. So for me, that like I think that all the stuff that I did up until doing a coffee enema, it was like, okay, I didn't have that detox. Oh, now I don't feel so good after I've done it. So I don't know. Did you have that when you first tried? Yeah.
Not at all. No, and like that was the same idea with me. Like I was eating really clean.
Yeah.
I was probably raw vegan at the time. Not anymore, but yeah, I was definitely already detoxing, already very focused on my health. But I do know people that like coffee enemas are the first thing that they try and then they feel crappy because like when your body is so used to all the crap, it's like holy shit. And I've had friends that we've done like whole foods like cleanses. There was one where there was I think 6 of us, and it was a whole bunch of friends that had never done anything for their health. And I don't know why, because it was one guy that actually initiated this, and it was cutting it down to you could only eat vegetables for like
Hmm.
3 weeks, or 2 weeks. I don't remember what it was, but you could only eat vegetables, and you couldn't have like anything really on them except for spices.
Mhm.
And then you could it was an elimination diet, and then you could add in rice, and then you
Mhm.
could add in fruit, and it was like a month long or 6 weeks, something like that. And all of them but myself, because I had already been focused on my health, all of them very heavy drinkers, very into consuming a lot of meats, wing nights every Wednesday, like all that kind of, like, it was a typical young 20 lifestyle, right?
Mm.
And men, like there was 4 guys and 2 girls, and I was one of the girls, and they all called in sick the first week of work. For the first week, called in sick to work for the first week because they were so sick, because they were detoxing and they were puking, they were shitting, like there was a mess.
Mm.
And but they were the ones that initiated this detox, and in the protocol it says you may feel horrible, and that's
Yeah.
part of this.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, it's really important to know that when you start doing the right thing, whether that's a spiritual, emotional, mental, physical, it may not feel good, especially if you're
Yeah.
at a really low place in any of those areas and you're trying to take like a big step. It's probably going to feel horrible, but
Mm-hmm.
it is going to have faster results and faster benefits too.
Mm-hmm.
And so I now occasionally don't feel good when I do coffee enemas, but I also have let go of a lot of my old protocols that I used to do for my health. Like I definitely am doing like 25% of what I used to do. And so now sometimes I do feel crappy. And it's like I'll feel crappy for like a half an hour to like
Mm.
3 hours after a coffee enema. But and then after that I again feel better. So my holistic doctor actually just recently gave me a supplement to help my body detox so that it doesn't feel sick while it's detoxing, because he said, like, obviously if you're feeling sick, your body needs it needs to
Mm-hmm.
detox, and there is such thing as over detoxing too, so you have to
Yes.
be
Yeah.
conscious of that. I'm not in that category, I'm not doing that. But you can. And so I have the supplement now, and now I don't feel crappy after coffee enemas ever, because it was like a hit or miss thing. And so I didn't like that. I didn't like not knowing if I was going to feel slightly lightheaded after or not. So, and
Mm.
it was never big symptoms. Um, but the biggest benefit for me lately of doing this every day has been my periods. I used to have horrible cramps, heavy bleeds, long periods, like 2 week long periods.
I don't,
Yeah.
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 That's horrible.
Yeah, so that was very common. And so my periods are lighter, they're shortening, and the cramping is significantly, if not completely gone. And so it is night or day for me. They're still long, but they're not as long, but they're still longer than average. Um, and then my mental state during my periods is also better, but still I have a little bit more PMS, like just emotional stuff, than I think is average. Like, because there's the societal norms around periods, and then there's like a this is actually what it looks like to have a healthy one. So
Right.
I kind of fall under the societal norms with a slightly longer period now, but before that I was like not. And so now I'm working towards like the actual healthy period that isn't a societal norm. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's a big difference for me.
Yeah, I know people that actually know one person that was diagnosed with cancer, with colon cancer, actually, and she started doing coffee enemas and found some pretty awesome results from doing them alone, you know? So it's just a really, really good detox for your body at the end of the day. So
Yeah.
we probably should talk about how to like set up like and actually do the coffee enema, because that's probably something like if anybody's listening and they're like, oh, yeah, I've seen this before. I'm curious, but I don't really know how to do it. Like, I don't know what to do with the coffee. I don't know what to do with this. I don't know what to do with that. Like, let's talk a little bit about that. Like, do you want to take that, Ashley?
Yeah, this is something
Your
I'm like
baby.
about. So my holistic doctor is crazy. He is like, so this is the only way to be healthy kind of person. And a lot of people hear his like beliefs around health and they're like, oh boy, that's too much, that's insane. But he has helped me in my health journey so many times, and I have seen a lot of holistic doctors and a lot of Western medicine doctors. I've been hospitalized, been through really crazy things. And he has always been able to help me. And I have countless family members and friends that go to him. And it's just like, there's never been a situation that he hasn't been able to help. My mom's going through menopause right now, and she sees him, follows his protocol. She has zero symptoms.
That's
And
awesome.
he's like, literally, I'll stop taking the supplement he gave me for a week, and I have horrible hot flashes and all the symptoms immediately. And so he's a little bit intense, but it works. And so I'm pretty intense when it comes to my methods of coffee enemas. Um, but I also know that coffee enemas are funnily becoming like a hot topic in the
It
holistic
is. Yeah,
space.
they are.
And there's a lot of people that are monetizing it and
Mhm.
making coffee enema kits and coffee enema systems and all this kind of stuff. And a lot are doing like parasite cleanse type coffee enemas. I've never heard about coffee enemas being specifically helpful for a parasite. Um,
I haven't seen that either.
it's being marketed that way, but I've never had a doctor say anything like that, and I've never read it being the historical reason for coffee enemas. And maybe it's helpful, but I have there's no research that I am aware of that it actually helps with parasites. So like those are the kind of things that you want to be very cautious of. Um, and the kits are very expensive. They're like hundreds of dollars. Like the one my friend just bought was $130. And
Why? That's nuts.
I
Yeah,
know. And
nuts. Mm-mm,
yeah, so it doesn't have to be expensive.
mm-mm.
Like everyone's probably seen those like ancient red bags, like the hot water bottle bags that people would put in their bed to keep them warm at night. So that's what I use. I think you have a different one.
I have a different one. I found one on Amazon for like $20. And
Exactly.
yeah, I love it. I've had it for a long time now. So I love
Yeah.
mine. What I like about yours is that you can close the top of yours. I can't do that. It has to stay
Oh,
hanging up. Yeah.
oh,
So
that's fun. Yeah, that makes it hard to do them in bed.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Cause you
Yeah.
do yours in bed, which I don't do. I do them on the bathroom floor most of the time because whatever, it works. I'm right where I need to be, So, and I can hang it up in a certain spot and I don't have to I don't have to like take it down and try and walk around with it, not spill anything. So, so
Yeah, so those red bags, for that reason alone, I would go with the red bag because you can fully seal it and it's not coming out. You're safe. My doctor recommends doing them in a bathtub, like putting a pillow in the bathtub and laying there. I had immense chronic pain when I started doing them. So I was like, there's no fucking way I'm going to lay in a bathtub. It's going to hurt. I'm laying in my bed and I'm going to take my chances. And I've had one incident where it
you
was,
pooped the bed.
yeah. So the sheets needed to be washed. And that happened to me in the last 2 months. It was a month ago or 2 months ago. So it's been a
Something like
decade
that. Yeah.
of me doing coffee enemas at least once a month. But for the last 6 months, probably close to 6 times a week. And so statistically, that's pretty good odds.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. But honestly, guys, if you're just starting out and you don't know how this is going to go, play it safe and maybe start in the bathtub or yeah.
yeah. And like I have a mattress cover and then 2 sheets. And so everything was really not even close to the mattress, but I still did poop the bed. So, but yeah. So, anyways, go for the red bag. I believe mine was like 20, $25, something in there, anywhere from 15 to 25. Um, and yeah, it's great. It seals up. It's multi-purposeful because now there's other uses you can use those bags for, which I don't even know what they're all usable for, but it works as a hot water bottle too, which I use it for both.
Mhm.
Um, and so you want to, if possible, select a coffee that you've been muscle tested for to know that your body is cool with it. That's taking it like really a step further. However, if that's something that you don't have access to, where you know someone that can, or there's a trusted doctor that is willing to do muscle testing for you, my recommendation is to buy just the original Folgers coffee because it's
That's what I
actually
do.
organic. Yeah. And it's actually very clean coffee, which is surprising because they don't advertise as organic or anything.
Mm-mm.
And so go with that. You don't need this tiny little coffee, Enema coffee for $40.
Nope.
Buy yourself the big thing, the
Well, we
full
get a big thing of Folgers and we use that forever.
and yeah, and it's cheap. It's like 10
Mhm.
bucks. I don't even know, but it's not expensive. I drink it and I put it in my bum. It's all good, you know.
I only put it in my bum. I don't drink it because it does not taste good to me.
Well, I am muscle tested for a specific coffee as well, so I do one of the two. But I haven't noticed any differences. I've just never muscle tested myself for Folgers. Um, and then the most important thing, in my opinion, is how you make your coffee, whether you're drinking it or you're putting it, whether it's oral or anal, you want it to go through an paper filter. And this is something that my doctor is very specific about because there are natural occurring toxins in coffee
Mhm.
that can only be properly caught and filtered through a paper filter. So people will do like a French press. People will do, and some of the coffee enema
Have
marketing
French
companies
presses.
have little tiny French presses that are like this big. And it's like, one, you want to be doing more coffee than that.
Yeah.
And two, like, let's be multi-purposeful people. Like I make my coffee in my coffee machine, whether I'm drinking it or putting it in my bum. Like you do not need all these weird little gadgets and wasting your money on that kind of stuff. Like, sure, if it makes you happy, go for it, but really, like, why? um so yeah, some people will do the French press. Some people will have like the mesh filters because it's better for the landfill. But it's not good for you. You need to
Mhm.
use an unbleached paper filter so that it's catching the natural occurring toxins in the coffee, no matter how you're consuming it.
Yes, and you did say this, but I want to re-emphasize that it is an unbleached paper
Yeah.
filter because are toxins. When you put a piece of paper into bleach to bleach out that piece of paper, bleach is still going to be on that piece of paper. So think about this. You don't want bleach going in your bum or traces of bleach going in your bum. So that's the reason you want an unbleached paper filter.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And all these little things are going to be like the night and day to like you having a positive experience as
Hmm.
well. How much coffee you want to start with. I recommend 2 cups personally. I don't know how much you
I
use or start.
started with a liter actually, because that was actually on the document that your doctor had given to you that you gave to me, that
Yeah.
to start with a liter of coffee. And that actually has always served me really, really well. Some days I can get the whole coffee enema bag in, and some days I only get half. And then
Mhm.
I release, and then I do the other half, you know? So it just kind of depends on the day for sure, but most of the time the leader works really, really well for me. So
Yeah, and that's what I use every day. But if you want to like not like if you've never detoxed before, it's going to be a gentler experience.
yeah, the 2 cups.
You
Yeah.
also won't feel the full benefits of
Hmm.
it too. Um, and so you're just going to make it like you normally would make coffee. You boil your water, you filter the coffee, and then you wait for it to get down to a temperature that is going to feel comfortable in your rectum. And so
Yeah, if you
I,
can stick your finger in there and you don't go ouch, that's perfect. Like
yeah,
I still like it warm because it just feels better to me. And I think actually the warmer it actually helps to pull out more too.
yeah,
That's what I do. I literally will like boil my water, make my coffee, and then I put it in I'll cover it up and I'll put it in the freezer for I think I do like 10 minutes and it works perfectly. I'm able to stick my finger in and I'm happy and I go do my thing. So,
yeah,
yeah.
exactly. And like there is like you can put a thermometer in and make sure it's the same temperature as your body, like all that
You
kind of
could,
stuff.
yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't do that either. And then um essentially you're just taking it and putting it in your enema bag. And there's going to be a little tiny tip smaller than my pinky, like tiny, way smaller than you pooping. The size of
Hmm.
your poop. It doesn't hurt, it doesn't feel uncomfortable. And some people will use like coconut oil or lubricant of some kind. I personally never have. I haven't found it has had any struggle to go in or
I I
Painful?
did when I first started because this was difficult for me. This was probably the most difficult part was actually putting the applicator in because it was a total mental game. Because I'm
Yeah.
thinking to myself, things are supposed to come out, but they're not supposed to go in. And so
Yeah.
it was a mental game. And so I had to practice relaxing down there before
Mhm.
I finally figured out how to insert it. And I
Mhm.
did. I used KY jelly on my applicator and I used the smallest tip possible when I first, because there was multiple tips that came with my enema bag. And so I
Yeah.
used the smallest one possible until I finally could figure out how to insert.
Mhm.
And once I figured that out, then I put the biggest applicator on there because I was like, oh, okay. And the bigger applicator had more holes to release
Mm.
the coffee through in a less like spurt way that makes you go, oh my God, I have to poop. So
Oh yeah.
it's a lot simpler to have that kind of applicator. So for me, that was the hardest part of this whole process. And I know
Mhm.
someone else that she started maybe a few months after I did per your recommendation also. And she had said that she had the same problem, that that was like a really big mental block for her as well. And she kind of had to figure it out until she finally did, where it was like, oh, okay. It probably took me one or two enemas before I really went, okay, I can relax. This isn't scary. Nobody's dying. It's okay. So for me, it was a little bit of a mind game. And there's probably other people that will struggle with that too. Just relax, put some lube on there if you're scared,
Yeah.
and take it slow. There's no
Yeah.
rush here. So,
I think that's where it wasn't a mental game for me because I'm like my poop's bigger than this and that's fine. But that was me. Um and yeah, it's been so long. Maybe I had more thoughts around it, but I don't think so. I think it was a pretty easy process, especially the ozone one. The tip was even smaller.
yeah,
That was
you'd already done it.
easy.
Yeah.
So yeah. And then you're basically just gonna have the coffee upright no matter what kind of bag I just hold mine because I lay in bed. I just hold it unclasp it and then you let it flow into your bum until you feel like slight pressure and it's just like you feel like you have to go poop. And so as soon as you feel that, you close the clasp and probably like within seconds, sometimes a little bit longer, that feeling of having to poop will go away. And then you just want to hold it until you feel a little bit more comfortable. And it's not painful or uncomfortable. It's just like, when you have to go to the bathroom, that kind of same feeling. And then you can put more in, and eventually you'll feel like, okay, my body doesn't want any more. And then you hold it for 15 minutes. And I don't think any of this is like when my doctor was explaining this to me, I was like, how am I gonna know my body doesn't want any more? But it's very obvious,
Yeah.
not painful. Like it's not bad. You do know.
Hmm.
And then you hold it for 15 minutes and then you go and you poop out coffee essentially.
Hmm.
And then you start over again if you still have more coffee in your bag. And like Karin said, sometimes I can take the whole bag in one go. And sometimes that enema is going to take me a half an hour. And sometimes my body is really slow to take it in and absorb it. And it takes me an hour and a half to get that same amount of coffee in. Sometimes it's because I'm watching TV or working on my phone while I do it, or talking to Karin while I do it is usually what's actually happening. So I'm distracted and not getting it in as much as I could be if I wasn't distracted. So
I know that you and I have had very many conversations where either you or me are doing a coffee enema.
often it's both. Often we're both.
It's true. Because for me, I use my coffee enema time as I spend a lot of time looking at, honestly, Dr. Joe Dispenza testimonials because I'm like, okay, what am I capable of? I'm reminding myself of what I'm capable of. I'm doing that kind of personal development, growing my mind, growing possibility, looking to see how other people did certain things. And so I'm using that time. I sometimes will read a book that's a good personal development book. So I use that time as a lot of my time to grow
Mhm.
in some way or another. So, because it's like, what else are you going to do? You're sitting here putting coffee up your bum. So,
No, exactly. It's a nice like relaxing experience. Like a lot of people are like, oh, coffee at my bum, but it's like I enjoy it both for how I feel after, but also it's just really good downtime, whether I'm like talking to someone or reading a book or listening to music, like no matter what, like you're just relaxing. It's a good regulating, grounding time because you don't feel like you have to be doing anything else because
Right.
you're
This is what you're
stuck.
doing. Yeah, this is it.
Some people say to lay on your side. Some people say to lay on the side that your liver's on, and some people say to lay on the opposite side. I've done it all different
Mhm.
ways. My doctor does recommend the opposite side of your liver, I believe. Um, and I lay on my back.
Me
I just
too.
I want to be comfortable.
Yeah, I tried doing the side and I kind of went, and I did both sides and I went, my body hangs on to this better if I just lay on my back. Because sometimes laying on my side, it would be like, okay, I'm ready to go already. And it's like, I haven't even gotten a quarter of this bag in. What in the world? And so I just started laying on my back and I was like, okay, this is just way better, like easier for me. So it's just kind of playing around with it and seeing what works for
Yeah,
you. Because I don't feel like, other than how you actually filter out the coffee, I feel like everything else is just kind of like what feels good. How does that work for you? So,
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, with that, I think we totally slayed the subject and gave you TMI advice you didn't want about a coffee enema. I don't know
Yes,
about you, Ashley, but I feel like that's probably what happened today.
I love it. I think that more people need to try it.
Yes,
So
I agree. People would be a lot happier and a lot less shitty. How's that?
definitely.
So, with that, if you are watching us on YouTube, go ahead and give us a like and go ahead and subscribe also. We'd love to hear any thoughts you have also, or maybe questions that you have about coffee enemas or spirituality in general. But if you're listening to us on your favorite podcast place, give us a 5-star also and just get connected with us. Let us know if you have any questions, comments, or anything like that as well. But with that, I think we can call this episode of TMI Advice You Didn't Want a wrap. So until next time, can't wait to see everyone.